Well, hello and happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the back catalog listening party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us all the way from Chicago, Emily White.
Hi.
Well, folks are excited to have you. And Connie joining us from Richfield.
Hey,
Hi,
Connie.
Connie. Always right on time. And let us know where you are tuned in from. And we got a hi from Austin, Hum 97. And joining us. And yay, Emily. We are excited to have Emily joining us. And Emily, I hear in Chicago it's kind of stormy out there, right?
Yes, it is like impending, like they said, like golf size hail and all
Oh,
sorts of nonsense. So,
oh no.
you know, just like you expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Well,
started here too, actually. I just can hear it out there. We have a blizzard warning here in the Twin Cities.
yeah, right now it
So
seems to be raining, but we'll see what
Oh
happens
my
when it
yeah.
gosh.
freezes tonight.
We got Joe tuning in from South Minneapolis. Hey Joe. And it looks like Alinda from Connecticut is here. Hi Alinda. And Gary is in Wisconsin visiting mom. Hey Gary, great to have you here.
Yeah, and uh, we would love to know where you're tuned in from, and maybe if you're having a drink or a snack. It's Friday, getting the weekend started, and I'm getting started. This kind of cool gray weather we're having makes me want to have a porter. So this is a
Ooh.
Bell's Porter is what I'm drinking today. Uh,
Excellent.
Tony, what are you drinking?
I'm going with the Bajas Guavatron. It's like a
Oh,
kind of a sour pink guava. I can't pronounce the word Gose. It's like I'm gonna butcher it if I do it. So it's like I think a German style.
excellent,
It's delicious.
excellent. And
Yeah.
Emily, are you enjoying anything on your Friday afternoon?
I've got a delicious pomegranate cranberry juice here.
Ooh,
Mm.
yum! That sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, cheers. Oh,
Cheers.
you can see the
Cheers.
Oh
guava
yeah,
colored
it's
drink
pretty.
here.
Ooh, that's pretty.
And yeah, and if you're out there, like Ellen said, this is a conversation. We meet here every week with our favorite artists, and we listen to music from their back catalog, and it's meant to be a conversation. So if you have questions or for Emily or comments or anything you want to say during the show, jump in the comments. The more, the merrier.
And by the way, I see a nice conversation happening between Gary and Alan. Gary, who's in Wisconsin, was saying it's 60 degrees, which
Wow.
is what? Pretty
Yeah.
warm.
Right.
And then, but then Alan says in Texas, 90 here. Well, wherever you are tuned in from, whatever the weather, again, we're happy to have you joining us today. And today, Emily White joining us to revisit her album that came out in 2014. But before we dive into the music, Emily, for folks who aren't familiar with your music, maybe you could give the brief 2-minute origin story of you, where you grew up, and um, how you fell into making music and what led up to this record in particular.
Sure. So, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, where it is usually warm this time of year. And and I fell in love with the guitar when I was pretty young, like about 12, and really just dove right in. I'm sorry if you hear my son screaming in the background. He's very excited. And started writing songs at a pretty young age, and was studying jazz guitar, went to school for music, and then ended up starting to make records from there. Started touring, doing it like the old fashioned way, just in my car, driving around, playing for, 2 to 20 people, and making some records. And then I started attending the Rocky Mountain Song School because I
Mm.
just was really, I'm in love with songwriting, and I wanted to learn more about it. And some of, my favorite songwriters were teaching there. So I started going out there in the summers and really just working harder on songwriting. I had focused on guitar for a while and had always tried to think about singing because I think that's what I'm least confident about. And and so then I just decided to focus on songwriting for a little while. And while one of the years I was out there, I met Kai Welch, who ended up producing this album. And he had heard some of my songs and was interested in producing the record. And I had been looking to make a record in Nashville. And I had sort of picked out a producer who suddenly wasn't working at that time. And so like the stars just aligned for Kai and I to work together. And it ended up being like just such a gift because I'm so proud of this record, and it was just he was so great to work with, and I got to meet a lot of Nashville musicians, and that ended up, just being great years down the road playing with those people again. So
Wonderful.
Nice.
Well, we can't wait to take a dive into this record. The name of the album is Staking Flags in the Valley, came out in 2014. And the first track that you picked to feature is Crooked Teeth. Is there anything you want to say about it before we take a listen?
I thought about this track because I was thinking about you, Ellen, and this is a song that I wrote sort of, it was a little bit of a joke, parts of it about Folk Alliance in Memphis. In Memphis, we would stay up all night at this folk conference, and you play music all night, and then you play music with your friends after that at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And we were all punchy one night from no sleep, and we were talking about we were up on the 19th floor, and we were like, what would we do if we found out there's a fire downstairs and we're not gonna make it? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll put that in a song, sort of about a crush. So that's where this song came from.
All right, let's give it a listen. This is Emily White, Crooked Teeth, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
I've been thinking about your crooked teeth. I've been picturing my hand in between that damn dog won't let go. Yeah, that dog, she don't know the meaning of no. If there's fire down on 3 and we are stuck on 419, well, tell me how you want to spend your last 30 minutes with me. I've been thinking that life is much too short. We make our mark in the sand, we draw it out so sweet. That damn wind wants to blow. Yeah, that wind, she don't know the meaning of no. But if there's fire down on 3 and we are stuck on 419, well, tell me how you want to spend your last 30 minutes with me. With me. With me. You keep your lips locked so damn tight, so scared of that truth that cuts like a knife, like a knife. So hypothetically speaking, if there's fire down on 3 and we are stuck on floor 19, if there's fire down on 3 and we are stuck on floor 19, tell me how you want to spend your last 30 minutes with me.
All right. Emily White with Crooked Teeth here on the Back Catalog Listening Party
Nice.
from her 2014 album, Staking Flags from the Valley. And um, I just love that idea of, how would you want to spend your last 30 minutes? And you were saying that you were uh, thinking about this when you were at Folk Alliance International, again, this big folk music conference in a hotel. And one of the hallmarks of this conference, aside from all the great late night jams and all these crazy talented artists packed into one hotel, is that the elevators are notoriously slow because everyone's trying to get between the same floors. So you have to take the steps pretty much to get anywhere. So even if the elevators were operating, you wouldn't be able to get down to the floor.
Yep.
But I love the idea that the last 30 minutes, again, you wrote this at a folk music conference. I can think of worse ways to spend your last 30 minutes than playing music with a bunch of friends.
For sure. For sure.
Well, I was really digging the guitar. That was you, I'm assuming, playing that. But it was a full on arrangement here. We had a full band playing and really interesting layers of rhythms and the organ and all the rest. I'd love to hear a little bit about who was playing on this record.
Yeah, so I was playing the acoustic guitar, but Megan McCormick, who's a fantastic guitar player out of Nashville, she was playing that electric, smoke and electric part, and singing some harms as well. And then Kai was on the organ, and Jamie Dick is on the drums, and John Estes on the bass in that track. Yeah, it was really great. That song has, there's some extra beats thrown in there, which make it fun in an arrangement sense. And those guys are just such pros, and it was so fun to find a groove on it with them.
Were those extra beats there before the studio session? Like, had you written it that way, or did some of this evolve in the studio?
Yeah, no, I always had those extra beats sort of in the guitar part I had written. So those were always in there.
And had you played with any of these folks before, or was it just like first time when you met them in the studio?
Pretty much. We had a couple rehearsal dates before we went into the studio, but that was the first time I had met them. In fact, like, because they knew each other really well, they were like, wait, next week? I'm not free next week. I didn't realize this was next week. And I panicked, like, because I was going down to Nashville, and I was like, oh no, this is all falling apart. Like, I didn't know that they were all, so jovial or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, do not freak out. He like called me. He was like, do not freak out. They're just kidding around. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, and I love the interplay of the keyboards and the guitars so much. Did you record this live, or did you layer all the tracks?
We recorded most of it live. I overdubbed my vocal. And so on this one, I think we ended up keeping actually my original guitar track too on this one. But just overdubbing the vocal, and the organ was overdubbed because Kai was like producing that day, so we added that later.
Excellent.
It sounded great.
Sounds so good. And Melissa just joined us or hi from Olivia in Boston, it says. So
hey guys.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
And I know you went to school in Boston for a little bit. And was that when you started touring, when you were based there?
I really started after I left there because I was in school while I was there. So it was after I moved to Chicago after graduation. But yeah, I was at Berkeley there studying production and engineering. So
I saw that on your bio, and I was curious if then you get into that when you're in a situation like this record going out to Nashville. I mean, they probably have all kinds of exciting gear and, like a lot of great minds out there. Did you insert yourself, or did you try to separate yourself as the artist and let Kai or everybody else do that part of it?
Yeah, I don't do much of that anymore. So it's the kind of thing that like when you're not practicing it regularly, you kind of fall out of it. And I'm still super interested in it. But yeah, no, I don't try to. They're all way faster than I am, and way, just like next level with their editing and their splicing skills. I'm like, whoa, like I would need to train for several months to get back into it at that level.
I love that you kind of, make an analogy about like training. I think people assume that like some of those technical skills, like producing and engineering are, that they don't change, even though like any instrument you don't play for a while, you kind of lose your chops. So I love that analogy. That's, I think, really apt. But I do know that you did produce one of our past back catalog guests, Hope Dunbar. You produced one of her records. So every once in a
Hmm.
while, people pull you out of the, dust you off out of the closet, get the mothballs out, and get you to produce.
Yeah, I like the production. I mean, I feel it more adept at the production side than the engineering side for sure.
Mhm.
As far as like in getting my total, with this record I just released, I did more of the production than I would. But yeah, I got to produce Hope, who's fantastic. Her album, Three Black Crows, and that was such a good, that was such a wonderful experience. I loved making that record with her.
Excellent. Well, we are so happy to have you here today talking about your record that came out in 2014. And if you're out there tuned in, let us know where you're tuned in from. If you have comments or questions as we go today, feel free to throw them in the chat. And Penny joining us from Northfield, the nice little glass of sherry. All
Hey,
right. Yeah,
Penny.
just the thing to warm you up on this cool gray day, as is the music. And we are going to hit the road on this next song. It looks like Black Highway. Is there anything you want to say about this track before we give it a spin?
Yeah, so I wrote this as like a true story song, and it about a member of my family, and it was sort of one of my first forays into that sort of songwriting, where I took a story and tried to tell it. And this was one of the songs that got me into the Telluride Troubadour competition, and so that was like a really big deal in that year, and so I feel I always feel like, oh, I don't know, I have tender feelings towards this song.
Excellent. Well, let's give it a listen. This is Emily White with Black Highway here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Hey, my daddy drove all through the night. He crossed into Texas with the morning light. If you wanna say goodbye to me or your boy, you better come quick. Daddy knows I did all that I could. Heaven knows I did more than any woman should. I can't make you love me. Trying's only breaking my back. There's a black on that highway, like the black in your heart. And I have spent my last day trying to change what I can't change. I'm just trying to raise the best kid I can. And I know the boy may never understand how I took him from his father so he could learn to be a man. There's a black on that highway, like the black in your heart. And I have spent my last day explaining all careless things you say. So my daddy packed the car, and your son wore his cowboy boots, crying in the kitchen with brown eyes he got from you. He packed his G.I. Joes and his Batman cape, the one you got him for his birthday 3 days late. And I will do my best to speak well of you. Love is soft, you can't shoot it from a gun. Love is loose, it won't be forced on anyone. There's supper in the fridge. Is there anything
Emily White with Black Highway from her 2014 album Staking Flags in the Valley, which we are revisiting today on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Emily joining us live from Chicago and all of you joining us from all over the place. And we're so happy to have you. I know, yes, I totally agree. So many beautiful, heartbreaking details in this one, says Hum 97. And Gary, nice song. I really like it, Emily. And I do too. And I especially really loved the piano in that song, which is such a focal point. But it's some really interesting chords and the rhythms
I
again,
love the
very interesting.
sparse percussion in that tune.
Hmm.
That was really cool.
Yeah, tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about who was playing piano on that track.
So that was Kai, the producer of the album, who was playing the keys on that one. And yeah, I love the way that the production on it just sort of like opened it up and made it so there's just so much space in that song. And it just really, like, I feel like reflects the theme of, this woman leaving and getting space and getting away from the situation, and just the heartbreak of having a kid.
Yeah, yeah. And
Nice.
and then it seemed like, yeah, Tony mentioned sort of the rhythms and the percussion. Definitely was that upright bass being played on that one rather than electric?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it really,
Jump.
like you said, opened it up. Like there was a lot of like great space for the story to unfold lyrically, and it was really nice. Had kind of some movement too, like like maybe the highway
Hmm.
factoring into it. It felt like it was kind of rambling on in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'd love to
yeah.
know a little bit about the songwriting for this album. Like, were these songs written over a long period of time, or were these kind of written for this record, or kind of a combination?
Um, it, I, this is always such an interesting question. I don't write like a ton of songs. So pretty much they were all the songs that I had written since my previous album, which had come out in 2010. Um, and but I had focused with these songs in particular. Like, this had been my time where I was really thinking about songwriting and going to Rocky Mountain Song School, and I had really decided to be like an editor, which I had never really been before. I'd always been like no, like I wrote the song and it's done and now I'm done. And with these songs, these are the first songs that I ever went back to, and it's just now it's just the way I work, but that I went back to and really edited like line for line, and was like, if the song is worth it, it's also worth putting that work in on the
Hmm.
back end, which I mean it's made me a better songwriter. I'm not saying this like for everybody, but I think editing is the thing that is really easy to skip, but is the thing that makes a huge difference if you don't skip it.
I agree. And I I always find I hate editing even when I know I need to do it. Like, I have the voice it's like, "Oh, I need to fix that line." But I hate going. I'd rather start something new than go back, but it's like it's really helpful. So do you have any obviously the Rocky Mountain Song School, you could get feedback through your peers and through the teachers at there, but in at home, like in Chicago, do you have like, you know, a crew of people? Do you have any people that you bounce ideas off of, or who you go to for feedback to help you with that editing process?
Absolutely. I have a songwriting group that I formed, I think in like 2010. And it has been like invaluable. It's a group of like 5 or 6 of us. And for a long time, we were meeting every month. We're trying to get back to that now. It's been hard post pandemic, but um, it's unbelievable. We give each other, assignments, and just since that group has been when I've been writing more songs, and just sometimes been writing songs that I don't keep, which I never used to do, which I think was a really bad sign because I was keeping everything. So it's nice now to just like hold songwriting more loosely, but also be able to take the songs that I really care about, and be a lot more serious about them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of a both and. The more you
Mm.
write, I feel like the more you get both of those things. So this group has been awesome, and even if we're not meeting, I can be like, oh, so and so, can you just listen to this? I'm working on this. And before this record, I absolutely did that. I pestered my friends relentlessly to listen to new versions, where I had changed like 3 words, and they were like, it's better, like really humoring me a lot. So
Nice.
And did you find you were still making those kinds of tweaks and edits by the time you got to the studio, or by that point where you're like, no, these are the lyrics, and this is the way I want the song?
there were a couple of songs that Kai and I definitely helped iron out together before we went into the studio. Most of them were done the way that they were. There were a few that I couldn't quite get, and he really helped me find them. And then there was a song that I thought we were going to record that we ended up cutting. So that was definitely invaluable to have his input on the last couple of songs that were just really giving me a hard time.
Excellent. Well, the end results are fantastic, and I can't wait to enjoy more songs with you here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you just joined us, Emily White is our guest, joining us from Chicago, revisiting her album that came out in 2014. And if you would like to purchase a copy of this beautiful record, you can do that. Emily-white.com is how you can do that. It's scrolling on the screen. We'll put it in the comments. And you can pick up this record. She still has CD copies available. And again, you can hear all that production nuance that maybe you might have missed if you're listening on YouTube that Tony and I were tuned into. You can hear it on the high-res files, either from the CD or if you get the high quality digital files too.
Bandcamp, if you go there, it's linked through her website. You can get it as a WAV file or a FLAC file, and it really does sound great. All that Nashville goodness and your wonderful songwriting, it really comes through. So and it goes a long way to support artists, to let them know that we care about what they're doing, and so head on over to emily-white.com. Pick up a copy of this, and it sounds like there's another record they could purchase. Is that that's just came out or is coming out? Is that true?
It just came out, yes. It'll like last month, and it's my new record. It's called "Songs You Didn't Know I Wrote About You," and
nice.
Yeah. So it's a new one, and it's really exciting to have it out in the world.
Yeah, it's so good. I as someone who's a big fan of that record, so I will say you would just get both albums while you're there, and you'll be all set. And well, let's take another listen to another song, because I want to get as much music as we can with you here. And this is the next song you chose to feature on today's show, Arizona. Is there anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, this is my favorite song on the album. Like, I don't know if you're supposed to have favorites of your own songs, but this is my favorite song. I really like it. And yeah, so I wanted to hear it. It's a love song, and I don't write.
I'm going to probe a little bit. I want to know why it's your favorite song.
Well, I mean, I think it's the best song I've ever written.
Nice.
But that's not even why it's my favorite. I feel like I love what Kai did with the production. Like, I just feel like he took this song that's about Arizona. It talks a lot about canyons, and he made it, to me, it feels like a canyon. And I mean, I just feel like that's what great production can do, and it can just take your songs and like you hear what you meant, And so I love that about it. And usually most, you don't like to listen to your own music. I don't like to listen to my own music, but I feel happy when I hear this song. And I sang the vocal at 6 a.m. after being up all night on our very last night of tracking. And I was so very, very, very tired. And I just think it somehow works in this song. It wouldn't have worked probably in any other song, but I hear that because I know my voice, but anyway, so I like it.
Thank you for sharing that. This is Emily White, Arizona, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
together by needle and string. If you said one thing to me, I don't remember it now. All the canyons can, all the canyons can, all the canyons can't hold my love for you. Arizona took those broken birds a wingspan away from the end of their world. Now they ride that thermal wind, and we watch with open mouths. Look at us, so hungry now. All the canyons can't, all the canyons can't, all the canyons can't hold my love for you. Did you think you'd have to choose? The red rock walls might leave you bruised. That all that beauty's not for you. It's not for you. Arizona, I've got poison blood. I've got limestone in my gut. Standing on this side of the wall, you say you built for me. Oh, land of the free. All the canyons can, all the canyons can, all the canyons can keep my love from you.
Emily White with Arizona from her 2014 album Staking Flags in the Valley, which we are revisiting today with Emily joining us from Chicago. And Emily, I can see why it's your favorite. It's a
That's a
great
great-
song.
yeah, it
And
really is.
and you were saying how you loved Kai Welch's production because of the that sounds like a canyon. It sounds like the space where it inhabits. And I would really agree with that. Like the the pedal sounds of the guitar, like the reverb.
Yeah, did I
It
hear
just
a
has
pedal
an
steel
echo.
on that one? It sounded like a pedal
Yeah.
steel, and
Yeah.
that tremolo on the
Yeah.
other guitar.
Yeah.
It just it's like space.
It's like echoes across the
Yeah.
canyon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
back and
really
forth between the pedal steel and that electric guitar part, and then a little bit of the piano that you hear in the back. I mean, it's just I love it. I think it's so
Yeah.
cool. I think
That's a
he
beautiful
did
tune.
such a good job. I mean, that's not me, that's all him. So
That's wonderful. Well, yeah, and Hum 97 says gorgeous, and I would agree. And if you have any comments or
Thanks,
questions
Heather.
for Emily about this record or about her music, feel free to throw them in the comments. And Chris wants to know, Emily, have you had a dream song that you didn't have to edit? I think he means like, I don't know if he means like a perfect song or one that you maybe was inspired by a dream, but either way, do you have a song that you felt like just sort of fell into place magically?
Yes, I have songs that I've written really fast and not edited, and I still like them. I've
That's the
never,
key, right?
yeah, I've never had the experience of like the waking up from a dream with a fully formed song. I know other songwriters that have had that. I have not been so lucky. I definitely have woken up with ideas that have been fleshed out, but yeah, no, I have a couple of songs that came out pretty fast and furious and I didn't edit at all.
Are
Um,
there any from this record where that would be the case, or?
the very last song on this record, which I don't think I chose to play, um, but it's called What Do I Know? And it was like that. It just sort of
Excellent.
fell out.
Well,
Yeah.
again, emily-white.com if you want to pick up the album and find that track, or
That's
you can
right.
find it in all the digital places too. But highly recommended you listen to the whole record. And I'd love to know a little bit about how you saw this collection of songs coming together in terms of you called it Staking Flags in the Valley. Do you feel like when you were putting these together, did you think a lot about sort of the placement? Do you listen to albums? Is that one of the things that you were going for in this collection?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm still like that. I know like
Well,
nobody's
you're in
like
good
that anymore.
company
Yeah,
here.
you're
We
not
are.
alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and so I did, and I felt like when I had this collection of songs, like they sort of made sense as all these little signposts along the way of different experiences and different stories that I had been sort of like gathering over the course of those years. And so I chose Staking Flags in the Valley as the title and went against a lot of people thought I shouldn't call the album that, but it's a line from one of the songs that's on the record and just sort of about staking your claim to the places that you've been or the experiences that you've had. And I felt like it made a lot of sense for this record and this collection of songs in particular.
Excellent.
Is that related at all to the album art? Could you speak to that a little bit?
So the album art was created by an artist friend of mine, Michelle Jane Lee, and I just knew I wanted, I just knew I wanted like bright colors, and I didn't want my face on the cover of the album. And she's like a real artist, and I was like, I would love to incorporate like a piece of your artwork, you know, that you make for this album, but that's like your work. And at the time, she had been doing these series of of paintings or drawings where they were coded love notes, and they were like, it's hard to explain if you've never seen it, but it was like grids of paper, like, you know, you would have gridded paper and each
Hmm.
square would be a color that represented a letter of the alphabet, and it was all a code. And she wrote these letters, these love letters to this like muse of hers, and like there was a 40-foot love letter, like grid paper, like this big. It took her like a
Wow.
year and a half to complete, and it was shown in these galleries and stuff. So she was like very grid oriented at the time. And
Fascinating.
so when she came up with this album, I was like, oh, this is perfect because it's you know, it looks like her work to me, but it also looks like the album to me. There's, you know, like the Arizona theme, there's just some openness in the album, and I feel like it sort of looks like sunsetty and
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe a coded love letter in there somewhere.
a little bit. Yeah, maybe.
Excellent. Well, we'll have to get a link to this artist's website, and we'll try and put it in the
Yeah.
show notes.
Can you
for
repeat
sure.
the name for us of the artist?
Michelle Jane Lee, Lee. And it's
Excellent.
michellejanelee.com.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Spelled
And
the way you would expect. Yeah.
okay. Excellent. And we'll make sure to link to that. We do want to let everyone know that if you ever want to go back and listen to episodes, not only can you share this YouTube link, but if you go to backcataloglisteningparty.com and go to this episode, you can check out all our past episodes. But we also include not just the video, but the show notes, the list of the tracks we featured, and links to relevant things that we talk about, like this artist who is incorporated into the album art of this beautiful album. And I also want to take this moment. We still have another song or two to get to on today's show, but I do want to thank all of the folks who support this show as part of our Patreon community. And these are the folks that have kept the show going for now. How many episodes, Tony?
We are at 155.
155. What?
Yes. We have passed the 3-year mark now. It's
so great. And we couldn't do it without these folks. These are the folks who support the show. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Many Tracks, Nikki, Joni, David, and Sarah C. And you, if you want to join our Patreon community, we have special after parties and get-togethers. You get first look at all of our guests and all of that good stuff. So if you want to support the show that way, you can. But we still have lots of great music to get to. So we're going to listen to Starve the Dog next. And is there anything you want to say about this tune before you take a listen?
So this is one of the ones actually that I had not figured out how the song all went together. When I was there, I was really stuck on this song. It was a really personal song about someone that I love who died of alcoholism, and I just felt really stuck in it. Sometimes it's really hard to write a song that's so close like that. And Kai really helped this one, really nudged this one along and helped me figure out, like, oh, these are the parts and the way this should move together. And so I really love the way it ended up turning out on the album. I feel like it's a great tribute to that person, and I really love it.
This is Emily White, Starve the Dog, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Starve the dog, pulling at his chain. He'll bare his teeth at you if you look his way. Leave him there. Don't you dare set him free. Just 'cause you think that you remember how sweet he used to be. Know your blood to know yourself. Put what you want on the farthest shelf. Pull your hand back, you can walk away. Hey, please don't forget to starve the dog today. I saw your dad when he fed the same beast. And you swore and swore that'll never be me. I saw your hands and the way they would shake. And all of my love couldn't hold that chain. Know your blood to know yourself. Put what you want on the farthest shelf. Pull your hand Friday, as you hold back the chain, there are three things I will pray: that you'll see yourself more clearly, that I'll forgive you more dearly, that I might know the very same blood we share. Know your blood to know yourself. Put what you want on the farthest shelf. Pull your hand back, you can walk away. Hey, please don't forget to starve the dog today.
Emily White with Starve the Dog from her 2014 release, Staking Flags in the Valley. And if you like what you hear, throw something in Emily White's tip jar. You can throw something in at PayPal, help fund the next thing she has coming up. As we mentioned, though, she just put out a new record, and you can pick up the new album and the album we're talking about today, Staking Flags in the Valley, at emily-white.com. And when you're at that website, you'll also find that Emily White has a big hometown release show in Chicago on April 16th. So you can check that out at the Golden Dagger, which I hear is such a cool venue. I've not been to it yet, but so if you live in the Chicago area or will find yourself near the Chicago area, definitely want to check that out. And yeah, sounding great. And I want to make sure we get to this question from Olivia. She wants to know, which album of yours is your favorite?
Oh, Liv, that's a hard question. I don't know. I think they're all well. I feel like I like different things about each one, and there are always things that you hear that you feel like you could improve upon with each record, which I think is what keeps you making records. So, I feel like I'm not answering the question, but I feel like I can't answer that question. I think most people say their most recent record. Like, most people have that feeling. I don't always have that same feeling. So, I mean, I love my most recent record. I also really like this one, and I think there's.
Well, so Olivia, if you're trying to figure out which album to get, I guess you just have to get all of them. That's, the solution to that. Emily-white.com is how you can do that. And again, you can sign up for, you have an email list too, right, Emily?
I do, yes.
So folks can
sign up on the website.
Find out where she's playing and all the news, and of course find her on the social media places as well. And we do have time for one more song if we want to squeeze it in. Arkansas was the last track. Is there anything you want to say about this?
This is a song about trying to get to heaven. I grew up in Tennessee, in Memphis, so you're like really close to Arkansas. So I spent a lot of time in Arkansas growing up, and this was just sort of a song about the culture down there and the world I grew up in, which was the evangelical church, and just sort of working through all of that in the song.
All right, let's give it a listen. Arkansas from Emily White here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, the flags are all at half-mast. We don't have to ask. We've all got our own reasons why these days. And the men in the vinyl diner seats, they got their hands clasped so tightly, sending their prayers up to the Father above. I used to know that Father well, and then some say that I fell. And I guess I've got the scars to prove I'm right. There's a sign at the end of that road, says it's as far as cars can go. And if you want to go any further, you are gonna have to walk. from Jesus on the way to New Orleans, and the billboard from Jesus says that it's for lease. Well, he might just be bones and dust, and the thing that saved my life. I got a brother looking out for me on the angel side. Some people walk and some people ride, some people carpool to heaven, carpool to heaven. The stars fall heavy over Arkansas tonight, and I can't carpool to heaven, but I'd like to get there all right. Today we learned the truth too late. We reminded ourselves not to hesitate, held on a little tighter to the ones that we've still got. And I held my guitar like a life raft, holding me up in the mine shaft, digging up a dream I still believe. Oh, I think it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. Oh, I think it's gonna be alright, alright, alright. Some people walk and some people ride, some people carpool to heaven, carpool to heaven. The stars fall heavy over Arkansas tonight, and I can't carpool to heaven, but I'd like to get there. Some people walk and some people ride, some carpool to heaven, carpool to heaven. The stars fall heavy over Arkansas tonight, and I can't carpool to heaven, but I'm gonna get there all right.
All right. Well, I want to join that
Okay.
carpool to heaven. That was Emily White with Arkansas from her 2014 album we've been revisiting today on the back catalog listening party, Staking Flags in the Valley. Chris says big harmonies on that. Yeah, great sing along. And I've heard you do this live, and it's like impossible not to sing along, I think, with this song. But who's joining you on the harmonies on this track?
So it was Kai singing and also Megan, who was also playing guitar.
Mhm.
It's funny, I hadn't listened to that in a while, and I had forgotten about the horns.
The
And I
horns
love
are
I was going to ask
amazing.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what an interesting choice.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
great.
Kai is also a trumpet player, so
Excellent. Well, it's funny that I feel like every time we mention an instrument that we're like, oh, that's really cool in there, you're like, oh yeah, Kai did that too. So
Yeah, is there, we
yeah.
definitely have to link to. Does Kai have a website or somewhere we can send people? If there is, we'll track it down and we'll put it in the show notes as well, because it sounds like he played a big part
Yeah,
on this album.
absolutely.
I also really love the that electric guitar sound, which kind of is a little bit of a throwback sound. It reminds
Absolutely.
me of like kind of like
Dire
some of those,
Straits.
yeah, or like some of those Nancy Griffith records have that same kind of guitar sound, and I just I don't know, it really worked in that song in a big way, without it making it sound like a throwback song itself. It's really neat.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I love that too.
this has been such a treat to revisit this record with you today, Emily. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Yes, I agree. This whole record is so great. Really fun to revisit it. And again, if you want to revisit it again and again, you can pick it up, get your own CD copy. Emily might even throw in a signature for you if
Yeah.
you order it at emily-white.com. And you can also pick up her new record as well. Connie says, thanks for another good show. Well, we couldn't do this without artists like Emily saying yes when we make them, when we
Yeah.
torture them by making them listen to their old records.
Exactly.
and then also all of you, so Connie and all of you out there tuned in and commenting and joining the conversation. This is what it's all about, listening to music together in real time.
Mhm.
And enjoying these great pieces of art that sometimes get like discarded for the next new album, but we like revisiting the old stuff. So
Yeah, we're the anti-Spotify.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm
exactly.
pretty sure you can only get on a playlist if it's new, right? If
Yeah.
it hasn't come out yet. I'd like to think we're whatever the opposite is of that. And
Yeah, it
this
has
is
to. We've had artists be like, "Can we talk about this album?" We're like, "No, it's not old enough."
exactly because it's had time to age, and clearly, Emily, just through the comments, I can see that this album has touched people and has meant something to them. And I really appreciate you sharing all the stories and the personal things that you did. That kind of helps bring all of this stuff to life, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're so
Thank you
grateful.
guys. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel like this show concept that you guys have, and I mean, it's awesome. It's like the kind of thing I adore because I love going back and visiting not my own albums, but other albums that have moved me in the past, and it's a really cool thing to listen to music with other people in real time. It's really I miss doing that. I miss when life was more like that.
Well, the good news is we do this every Friday at 4 p.m. Central
Yes.
with different artists, not every week with Emily White, but we have different guests joining us. And if you want to check out the back catalog of back catalog listening parties, you can check out all of our past episodes, all 150 of them, 5 of them, at backcatalog.listeningparty.com with the show notes. But also, if you like the episode, like it on YouTube, give it the thumbs up, and direct more bots to Emily White. And you also can subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notified of who's coming up. You'll get first alert, although Patreon folks really get the first alert. They know what's
Yeah.
coming up like sometimes a month out. So that's how you find out who's coming up next on the show. But thank you all so much for joining us today. What a great way to start off the
Yeah.
weekend.
Every
And
week, this is like it just whatever stress I had Monday through Friday, like is kind of absolved after listening to good music with artists like Emily, and now I just feel better. So
yeah,
thank you, Emily. Thank you for this.
agreed. And everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy some music, and we'll see you back next week for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.
All right,
Cheers.
cheers. Have a great weekend.
Thank you guys. Cheers.